Society has a specific name for men over 50 who choose to live alone. They call them lonely, and they often label them as failures without ever knowing the truth of their lives. They whisper behind closed doors that something must be broken inside these men. If you are listening to this right now, you have probably felt the weight of those whispers yourself. Maybe you have noticed the subtle pity in their eyes when you attend a family gathering without a partner. But I am here today to tell you that society is lying to you. They are lying because they are terrified of a man they can no longer control, manipulate, or shame. You are not being left behind by the herd. You're not missing out on some great mystery of life that they possess. You're not lonely in the way they desperately want you to believe. You're simply unavailable for the drama that consumes the lives of other men. You are unavailable for the psychological games you no longer have the patience to play. And you are unavailable for a system that was designed to extract your resources without giving you peace in return. We need to rewrite the narrative of your life right now. Being single at this stage of your journey is not a deficit or a curse. It is a massive strategic advantage. It is a position of absolute power that most men are too afraid to ever occupy. While other men are scrambling to find someone to validate their existence, you are quietly building a fortress. This is not about giving up on love or being bitter toward women. This is about waking up to the reality of your own value. It is about understanding that your peace of mind is the most expensive asset you own. And right now, solitude is the only way to effectively protect that asset. Let's look at the brutal reality of the modern dating market for a man your age. When you were 20, dating was about discovery, building, and excitement. It was about finding someone to grow with and building a future from scratch. But dating in your 50s and 60s is a completely different battlefield with different rules. You're not building from scratch anymore. You are attempting to merge empires. And often, you are merging with someone who brings decades of heavy baggage. They bring financial debt that isn't yours. They bring unresolved trauma from past marriages. They bring expectations that you are there to fix what someone else broke. The math simply does not work in your favor anymore. Why would you risk the stability you have fought 40 years to build just to avoid eating dinner alone? Why would you invite chaos into a house that is finally quiet and orderly? There is a massive phenomenon happening all over the Western world right now called the Walkaway Man. These are not men who cannot get a date or who have been rejected. These are successful, fit, and stable men who have looked at the deal on the table and simply said no. They have realized that the cost of admission to a modern relationship is higher than the value of the ride. Walking away is not an act of weakness or surrender. It is the ultimate act of self-preservation and self-respect. It is a declaration that you respect yourself too much to be a safety net for someone else's poor decisions. You are entering a phase of life I call the rebuilding. This is your time to repair the cracks in your foundation that decades of stress have caused. It is time to heal your finances, your physical health, and your spirit. And you cannot do that if you are constantly managing someone else's fluctuating emotions. Let's talk about the first pillar of your new life, which is financial sovereignty. For decades, your resources have likely been drained by endless obligations. You supported a family for years. You paid for the college tuitions. You bought the houses. You paid the taxes and the insurance. You were the engine that kept the entire machine running. In many relationships, a man's value is directly tied to his utility and his wallet. You were loved for what you could provide, not necessarily for who you were as a human being. But now in this solitude, the bleeding finally stops. Your money is finally yours to command. There is a profound psychological shift that happens when you realize you answer to no one about your bank account. You do not have to justify a purchase to a tribunal. You do not have to negotiate a budget or fight over expenses. You do not have to worry that a sudden divorce will cut your net worth in half just as you approach retirement. Do you know that gray divorce, or divorce after age 50, is the single biggest destroyer of male wealth? It forces men to work into their 80s when they should be resting and enjoying life. By choosing to remain single, you are immunizing yourself against that catastrophic risk. You are protecting your legacy and your hard work. You are ensuring that the fruits of your labor remain in your hands. This is not greed, this is survival and wisdom. It allows you to allocate resources to what actually matters to your soul. Maybe it is travel to places you have always wanted to see. Maybe it is a business you always wanted to start. Or maybe it is just the security of a full savings account that gives you peace. That financial peace creates a level of confidence that money usually cannot buy. Now let's move to the second pillar, which is even more critical, and that is biological peace. We need to have a serious conversation about male health and longevity. Science tells us unequivocally that stress is the #1 killer of men. Cortisol, the stress hormone, destroys your heart, your sleep, and your immune system. And where does the majority of chronic stress come from for men in the modern world? It comes from toxic relationships and domestic conflict. It comes from walking on eggshells in your own home to avoid an argument. It comes from the constant low-level anxiety of trying to please someone who cannot be pleased. When you remove that variable from your life, your biology changes immediately. Your blood pressure drops to healthy levels. Your sleep quality improves because you are sleeping in a bed that is a sanctuary, not a battleground. Silence is not empty, it is medicinal. When you come home to a quiet house, your nervous system finally gets permission to power down. You are no longer in fight or flight mode. This is why you see so many single men in their 50s who look 10 years younger than their married peers. They have reclaimed their energy and their vitality. They are not exhausted by the emotional labor of managing a partnership. They have time to go to the gym, to cook healthy food, and to just sit and breathe. Do not underestimate the power of a good night's sleep without an argument before bed. It can literally add years to your life expectancy. This is the return on investment of solitude that no one talks about. You are literally buying back your lifespan. The third pillar of your fortress is absolute time ownership. Time is the one resource you can never earn back once it is spent. For most of your life, your time belonged to your boss, your wife, or your children. Your weekends were filled with obligations you didn't choose. Your evenings were negotiated settlements about what to watch or where to go. But now, every single hour of the day belongs exclusively to you. This is a freedom that is terrifying to some men, but it should be exhilarating to you. You can wake up on a Saturday morning and do exactly what you want to do. If you want to drive 3 hours to see the ocean, you just go. If you want to spend 12 hours working on a project in your garage, no one is there to complain that you are neglecting them. This is the monk mode that high-level men strive for. It gives you the space to pursue mastery in your craft or hobbies. Maybe you have a passion you buried 20 years ago because it didn't fit into the family schedule. Now is the time to dig it up and breathe life into it. You have the bandwidth to become excellent at something new. This is how you keep your brain sharp and your spirit young. You're not sitting in a rocking chair waiting to die. You are actively designing a life that revolves around your mission, not your compromise. Society tries to tell you that this freedom is selfish. They try to guilt you into believing that a man living for himself is somehow wrong. Reject that programming entirely. You have paid your dues to society. You have served your time in the minds of societal expectation. You have earned the right to enjoy the sunlight on your own face. Self-ownership is the highest form of dignity a man can possess. Now let's address the deep fear that creeps in for everyone. The fear of being alone when you get older. This is the primary weapon society uses to herd men back into relationships they don't want. They ask you who will take care of you when you are old. They ask who will bring you soup when you are sick. Let's be brutally honest about this transaction. Betting half your wealth on a relationship, just so you have a nurse in 20 years, is a terrible insurance policy. There are no guarantees that a partner will care for you. She might get sick first, or she might leave when things get hard. The only person you can guarantee will be there for you is you. By securing your finances and your health now, you are taking care of your future self far better than any relationship could. You can hire the best care in the world with the money you saved by not getting divorced again. You can build a network of strong male friends who have your back. Brotherhood is far more reliable than romance in the long run. So stop letting fear dictate your choices. Fear is a liar that keeps you trapped in a mindset of scarcity. Look at the men around you who are stuck in miserable marriages just because they are afraid to be alone. Look at the resignation and sadness in their eyes. They have companionship, sure, but they do not have life. They are slowly dying inside because they traded their freedom for a false sense of security. You have chosen the harder path, but the more rewarding one. You have chosen the path of the stoic. You are learning to be self-sufficient emotionally and physically. And here's the beautiful paradox of this journey. When you truly become happy alone, you become dangerous. You become magnetic to the world because you no longer need anything from anyone. You're not walking into a room looking for validation or approval. You are not looking for a woman to be your mother or your therapist. You are just there, solid as a rock. And that energy is incredibly powerful and rare. If you ever do decide to date again, the dynamic will be completely flipped. You will be the one in control because you are the one who is willing to walk away at any moment. You will filter ruthlessly because your peace is too valuable to compromise. But honestly, once you taste this freedom, you might find that you never want to go back. The solitude becomes addictive in the best possible way. You start to realize that the void you were trying to fill was never about a woman. It was a void of purpose. It was a void of self-connection. And now that you are filling it with your own growth, the loneliness evaporates. So, where do you go from here? First, you must change your vocabulary. Stop saying I am single like it is an apology. Say I am free like it is a victory. Stop looking at empty chairs in your house as missing pieces. Look at them as space for your thoughts to expand. Start investing heavily in yourself. Take that trip you have been postponing for years. Upgrade your wardrobe, not for a woman, but for the man in the mirror. Get your blood work done and optimize your health to the highest level. Read the books that challenge your thinking. Build a routine that honors your needs and your rhythms. You are the king of your own domain now. There is no parliament to debate your decrees. There is no opposition party trying to sabotage your plans. Embrace this authority because you earned it. You are part of a silent brotherhood of men who have woken up. We are everywhere, quietly building our lives, enjoying our coffee in peace, and watching the chaos of the world from a safe distance. We do not make noise, but we are winning. Do not let the media or your family make you doubt your path. They cannot understand because they have never tasted this level of autonomy. They are still plugged into the matrix that tells them happiness only comes in pairs. You know the truth. Happiness comes from alignment. It comes from living in accordance with your own values. It comes from the silence where you can finally hear God or the universe or your own soul speaking to you. So, stand tall and walk with your head high. You have navigated the storms of youth and the battles of midlife. You have scars, but you are still standing. This next chapter is not an epilogue to your life. It is the main event. It is the chapter where the hero finally returns home to himself. Do not trade your kingdom for a moment of comfort. Do not trade your sovereignty for a mirage. Keep building your fortress. Keep guarding your peace. The world may not understand you, but they will respect you. And more importantly, you will respect yourself. Better to walk alone in the light than to walk with a crowd in the dark. This is your life. Own it completely. Welcome to the era of the free man.